friends, welcome to today's episode of Friend Fusion. Today we're going to be talking about something that we're all familiar with, and that is rejection. For many of us, we've struggled with this word. We've struggled with the experiences. We've struggled with the memories. But today, it is my prayer, my belief that this episode of Friend Fusion will help you harness your pain to propel your purpose. Friends, stay tuned for this episode of Friend Fusion.
Friend Fusion. Marker and action.
Hey friends, I'm Trinity Mitchell, better known as your friend Tran, and welcome to today's episode of Friend Fusion. Y'all, today I have with me my friend. Not like my friend, like people be my friends, but like my friend. And I'm so honored to have her with me because she could be anywhere else in the world. And when you see who she is, you will know what I mean. She could literally be anywhere else in the world, but she's here with me. And I'm so honored to introduce to the set of Friend Fusion to y'all, our new friend, speaker, preacher, author, business mogul, woman of God, and for real, like a real woman of God. Nona Jones. Say, hey, friends.
Hey, friends.
Nona Jones, girl, you are on the set of Friend Fusion.
I'm here. I done made it. Mama, I made it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not Mama, I made it. That's hilarious.
For real.
I'm so grateful to have you here. I have been, listen, everybody knows, if you follow me, you know that I've been talking about the gift of rejection since last October.
Yeah.
I haven't stopped talking about it because
thank you, girl.
It's revolutionized my perspective on rejection.
Wow.
And I just want to say thank you for that. And so many other people.
you.
I would say the gift of rejection, but the harness your pain to propel your purpose.
Yeah.
I never thought of rejection to be a gift until you.
Wow.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, this book has been amazing, and I had to have you come and talk about it because we did it in our book club on Patreon. It was life-changing for so many of us. There were people talking about how they were able to forgive, change their perspective on certain situations and things, and establish a new normal for themselves in terms of how they perceive no's. Right?
Yeah.
And so thank you for that. Thank you for doing it.
That was the heart of the book. Like, I think so many of us are carrying around rejection wounds, and it actually is causing us to show up in ways that we don't even understand because we haven't acknowledged the rejection wound. And so maybe we have very like short temper, you know, maybe we're the kind of person we don't trust people. We don't do people, you know, or we can be the kind of people that we just expect people to leave us. And so we don't even build lasting relationships with people. And we think that that's just how we are, but that's not just how you are.
Yeah.
That's how rejection trained you to be. And so my hope for everybody who even read the book or is going to read it is that you'll come to see yourself so that you can get free.
Yeah. Because
life is meant to be lived with joy and in relationship with other people.
Let's talk about rejection PTSD.
Okay.
When we are rejected, especially those of us who have had very, very traumatic childhoods and experiences, we can filter rejection through the lens of that previous experience. How have you navigated the complexities of that? Like not punishing your present for the past.
Well, let me just say that before I really got revelation about rejection being a gift, I didn't navigate it well because for those who don't know my story, so I'm an only child. My father passed away shortly before my second birthday. He and my mom were married for 13 years. And after he died, my mom got into a relationship with a guy who became her live-in boyfriend. And around the age of 5 or 6, he began to sexually abuse me. And I waited about 2 years to tell my mom what was happening to me. And after I did, she had him arrested. I thought it was over. But then on the day of his release from jail, she took me with her to pick him up and brought him back home. And so from an early age, I got the sense that I didn't matter. From an early age, I got the sense that I wasn't good enough. I was not worthy. And one of the concepts I talk about in the book is that I think the way rejection can show up is one of two ways, either explosion or implosion.
Yeah.
When you explode, this is like the visible way that people tend to respond to rejection. They're
Absolutely.
angry. You just know something's wrong.
Do you think
right?
do you think I'm an exploder or the implosion? Which one is it? Implosion.
I think it depends on the circumstance. I think you have a mixture of both.
Yeah.
But it depends on the circumstance.
Okay.
But see, people tend to think that explosion is negative, but there's actually a virtuous form of explosion, and that is exploding into ambition.
Okay.
So some people, they respond to rejection by becoming really hyper ambitious. Like,
Yeah.
I need to be the best. I need to be first. I need to have the biggest. I need to be the most known, because that rejection wound is like a vacuum that sucks their self-worth into it. And so that's really what happened to me. The implosion side is people implode into addictions and self-harm and depression and things like that. I didn't really have that, but I did explode into ambition. So
Yeah.
I was the kid who was, Dean's List, honor roll, captain of the dance team, like number 2 seed on the varsity tennis team. I was doing all these things because I needed to matter, and that followed me into adulthood. So when I got into my career, like, I became an executive at a large company at the age of 23.
Right.
Because I was so ambitious, because I needed to matter, but I didn't know that it was a rejection wound. I didn't know. So I just thought it was just me. But it wasn't until God started to give me revelation about rejection that I realized, oh, this isn't me. This is rejection speaking to me. And that's when I started to have to do some work on it.
Yeah. You talked about in your book how you went with your mom to pick up your
Yeah.
abuser.
Yeah.
What was that like for you that day? I know that you say you felt like you didn't matter, but I can only imagine where you feel like, okay, she's standing for me.
Yeah.
Like, she's defending me.
Yeah.
He's going to jail. Like, okay, I could trust my mom
Yes.
to cover me. To now we're picking him up and he's coming back home with
Yes.
us.
It was you talk about rejection PTSD. It was a deeply traumatic experience because, of course, here I am experiencing repeated sexual abuse for 2 years. The reason why I didn't tell my mom is because he told me, if you tell her, she'll get rid of you because she doesn't want you. So he planted this idea that I wasn't wanted in my mind. So that led me to not say anything. So I finally say something. My mom has him locked up. So I'm thinking, yes, my mom is the hero. I love her. I'm safe. Like, all of that. I'm like on a high. And before she even took me to pick him up, this is when he got out. This is right before he was to be released. I will never forget it. You know how there are memories that are seared into your conscience that you just will never forget? I will never forget. My mom told me to come outside with her. We had a porch on the back of our house that was like this bright blue porch. And she asked me to come outside with her and sit down and talk about something. And I was like, sure. I was like maybe 8 or 9, maybe 10 at the most. And so we sit down and she said, let's just call him Lee. She was like, I just want to know, what would you think about Lee coming back to live with us? And I remember, like, I couldn't even understand the question because I was just like, what do I think about it? Like, I don't want him to come back. I don't want him to come back.
I don't think.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just very simple, right?
Yeah.
And there was like this darkness that came over her, and she was like, well, this is my house. I'm the adult and I make the decisions, and he's coming back. And she got up, and again, I remember this so vividly. She got up, walked in the house, slammed the sliding glass door behind her, and left me outside on the porch by myself. That memory is like so metaphorical for rejection. And I even talk about it in the book, how like the kind of main storyline throughout the book is the story of David and Goliath.
Yeah.
But before David defeated Goliath, he was left out in the field by himself to tend sheep while his father and brothers went to meet with the prophet.
Yeah.
They knew where he was, and he was even invited to come be with them, but they didn't invite him.
Yeah.
And so I felt like, and I was literally left out,
Left in the field.
by myself. And yeah, so it was a twilight zone to go from the fear of not saying anything because she'll get rid of me, to the joy of she protected me, he's gone, to the absolute devastation of knowing my mother just chose my abuser over me.
Yeah.
And knowing that because of that, nothing I would say would ever matter. So I remember when he got in the car, I was in the back seat. He got in the car and, you know, she gave him a kiss and all. And he kind of looked in the back where I was, and there was a smug on his face. And I knew in that instant that there was nothing I could say that would matter. And so I never said anything again.
Wow. Was there ever a rejection that you fought against thinking it wasn't God, but later realized it was actually protection?
Yes. So I tell the story in the book about my first kind of true love because, you know, I was never the girl that guys wanted.
Girl,
right?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. When I got to that part of the book, I think it's like chapter 3, maybe?
Yeah.
Girl. Yeah, I closed the book and got on my voice memo. Nona, girl, you tell your business. Tell the story. Tell the story for the friends who haven't read it yet.
So I was never the girl that guys wanted. I was always like the chunky girl. I was overweight. My friends would have boyfriends. I never had a boyfriend, but then I got in high school and I lost some weight. I think it was a combination of just getting taller and, you know, being active, but I lost some weight. And so suddenly guys were paying attention to me. And I did this citywide leadership program. Again, I was in high school. I did this citywide leadership program that brought together like the leading kids from all the different schools. And met this guy in the program, and he was handsome. He was smart. We started to date. He asked me to be his girlfriend. And then one summer, he went to do an internship with a legislator in Florida. And while he was gone, he told me, hey, when I come back, I want to take you out. So he comes back, and he immediately is like, hey, I want to take you to the movies. Let's say this is like a Friday or something. He wants to take me to the movies the next day. So I like got my hair done. I went and bought me a little outfit. Like I'm ready to see my boyfriend, right? About an hour or two before we were supposed to go, he texted me. I think he either texted me or called. I think he texted me. And he was like, oh, I can't go. A family emergency came up. I'm so sorry. I was looking forward to this. Now, of course, I was bummed because the whole summer I wanted to see him. You know, in the hours leading up to it, I was getting more and more excited. But I mean, it's a family emergency. So what are you going to do? So I just called a couple of my friends and I was like, hey, y'all want to go to the movies? Because
I'm cute now.
Look, I'm cute. We gotta be outside, basically.
Right.
So what's crazy, this is where God is so sovereign. In order to get to the movie theater where we were going to go, I had to literally pass like 2 or 3 movie theaters to get to that one.
Wow.
And I told my friends to meet at the one we were planning to go to just because that's where we were going to go. So I'm in line, and we're about to get our tickets. I just look over at another line. There's my boyfriend holding hands with another girl.
Insane, girl.
And
I would have exploded. Not an implosion, an explosion.
I think I was so, like, it was so shocking to me because, I mean, at that point, I had never heard of cheating. I didn't know what cheating was. And so it's like I couldn't even compute. I was like, that's my boyfriend. Who? What? And then a friend of mine happened to look over at the same time and saw him. And she was like, Nona, he's a jerk. Don't let that bother you. And so he looked back and he saw me seeing him and like the color left his face. Girl, the color left his face. But he acted like he just went on about it.
He had to
like
keep his cool.
I'm not one of those women. Like I know some of us, we would show out. I'm not one of those types.
Yeah.
So didn't deal with it then. He called me like multiple times over the next few days. I never answered the phone, never called him back. I was so hurt. I felt used. I felt discarded. I felt humiliated. I felt all of that, embarrassed. And for years, like even before I met my husband, I carried that pain with me because I mean, we were talking about marriage and life after school and going to college together.
Right.
So it was like when he did that, it literally ripped my vision of my future to shreds as well. So anyway, fast forward. This is about 15 years later. I'm working at Facebook. And there was a pastor that I was friends with, and he was like a father figure to me. And he texted me one day, and he's like, hey, can you give me a call? And I was like, sure. So I call him, and he's like, listen, I need your help. One of my spiritual sons is having some really mean things said about him on his page. Is there any way you can take it down? And I was just like, no. I was like, I don't know. I was like, unless it's violating community standards, I can't have it taken down. And he was like, well, look, I would appreciate any help you can offer because I just don't want him to be remembered for the worst thing he ever did. And I was just like, okay. I said, well, listen, just send me the page and I'll try to escalate it and see what we can do. So he texts me the page. I click on the link and the profile picture staring back at me is my ex-boyfriend. And I scroll down because I'm like, first of all, I'm like, why is his face looking at me? So I scroll down and I see all these comments from people. Serves him right. Cheaters get what they deserve. How could he call himself a pastor out here living a double life? I hope his wife is okay. Like all these things.
Yeah.
So I Google his name because I'm just like, what is happening right now? Turns out he was murdered by his mistress.
Wow.
Who also tried to kill his wife. And in that moment, first of all, it was just so overwhelming because I was like, this can't be real. Like this cannot be real. So I'm looking at all the articles. Yeah, it's very real. As the days go by and I start to like really process it, it's like it hits me that all these years, I thought he cheated on me with that girl, but he might've been cheating on that girl with me.
Yeah.
Like it all hits me all of a sudden. And I went to God and I prayed. First of all, I was like, for his former wife, I was just like, I hope she's okay. Thank God she is. But I was praying for her. And as I was praying, I was like, Lord, thank you for protecting me in that situation.
Absolutely.
And I heard the Lord say, Nona, you've been looking at rejection all wrong. You've been looking at the pain. He said, but there is a gift in every rejection. He said, you think it's a good thing because you now know what I was protecting you from. He said, but even when you don't understand, even when you don't see it, there is a gift in the rejection.
Yeah.
And that's the very first time I ever heard the idea of rejection being a gift.
Yeah.
But it literally saved my life.
Am I right when I say the same girl that he was in line with had also become his wife?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. That was the same girl. When I saw her, I was like, that was the girl he was with in line. Yeah, it was insane.
Wow.
Insane.
Yeah. So God definitely protected you.
Listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how we can sometimes perceive rejection to be the worst thing. But can you imagine? And I have so much compassion for her.
Yes.
So much empathy.
Whew.
Can you imagine your husband being murdered by his mistress and you thinking it's a church member or like insane?
And the crazy part of the story is like, yes, the wife knew the woman.
Yeah, right. I
Like
remember the
so
story.
much so
Yeah.
that because the woman showed up to their house, the wife let her in because she knew her.
Yes.
Had no idea none of this was happening. She's over here la la land. So she almost loses her life over his foolishness.
Right.
And so that's why I believe, and one of the gifts I talk about in the book is that the gift of rejection reveals people's role in your destiny. Like sometimes, and we as women especially, we internalize the rejection of a man, right? Him, ghosting us or playing games with our heart. And it's like at some point, you have to realize that he is showing you who he is.
Yes.
So if he leaves you on red, if he only pops up at certain times of the night, if he isn't committed to you, he's revealing the fact that he is not supposed to play a role in your destiny, but you're forcing it.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I need you. I want you. Hey, I'll try to make this work. I'll do everything I can to make you happy. Stop forcing it. If somebody is proving to you that they do not want to be with you, believe it.
Absolutely.
You deserve somebody who actually, their eyes light up at the thought of you. You deserve somebody who could not imagine living life without you. You do not need to lower yourself to the place of somebody who uses you like a doormat.
Absolutely.
Just to wipe their feet on.
Yeah.
Like literally pay attention to that because they're revealing their role in your destiny.
This episode is great, right, friend? I know. Join me for more episodes just like this one in my Patreon community. That's patreon.com/yourfriendtrend. I cannot wait to connect with you in real time. You also spoke about a Michael from a dating situation in college, right?
Girl,
was it Michael?
It was Michael.
It was Michael. It was
right,
Michael. We spoke about Michael in the book, and Michael tried it.
He did.
Real bad.
Yeah.
Real bad. So how you internalized his rejection for sure, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So what was the difference between Nona then and high school Nona with that boyfriend?
So I think a couple of things. I was still relatively naive. And when I say naive, what I mean is I was not yet at the place that I would believe what my eyes saw.
Okay.
So my eyes would see something and I would allow my brain to explain it away. Like I've heard it said that if a woman loves you enough, you don't have to lie to her because she'll lie to herself. That's where I was.
Yes.
And so in high school, I think seeing what he did was such a clear, like it was such a clear situation that I was like, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Michael, though, was more psychological rejection. And that's why I talk about in the book just the idea of what narcissism is.
Yeah.
Because what narcissists do is they create this like push-pull dynamic where they pull you in, right? They make you feel like you're loved, like you're wanted, like you're valued. But then the very things that they did to pull you in, they start to use to push you away. So like, let's just say that you meet a guy and he's just so impressed with how smart you are. You're so brilliant. You have such a creative mind. But then all of a sudden, he starts to say, you just think you know everything. You know, like he starts to trash the very thing that he pulled you in with. That's a telltale sign of narcissism. I didn't know that in college. And so I was so confused by what just felt like this like hot, cold dynamic with him. And I know in hindsight, this is why I talked about it in the book. Like I know in hindsight, that's what I was dealing with, but I didn't know it then. All I knew then is that I wanted him to want me.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be really careful about our desire to be wanted, because when you want to be wanted badly, you will settle for being wanted badly, right? Like if you really just want somebody's attention, you will settle for the crumbs of their attention.
Absolutely.
So we have to get to the place that we know who we are. And it's like, look, I am with you when you're with me, but if you're not with me, that's okay.
Yeah, it's
I just
okay.
take you where you are.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever used the term narcissist for this, but I'll say people, it seems that some people will love you for what they love you for, and then they'll also hate you for it.
Yep.
Is that not, is that experiencing narcissism?
Absolutely. Because so the thing, so and this, everybody is not a narcissist. So I want to say that.
Because it's become a very prevalent term.
Listen, but people can have narcissistic tendencies where sometimes the very thing that people love you for is the thing that they most want for themselves.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you have it, at first, it can be inspiring to them because it's what they want. But the more they're exposed to it, the more it reveals that they do not yet have what you have.
Yes.
And so it can almost become this like love-hate situation where it's like, I want what you have, so I want to be in your presence. I want to be proximate to you because you have it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you have it and I don't becomes a problem.
Yeah, it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what would have happened if God had given you some of the things you once prayed for? How do you think your life would look different now?
When I tell you, I am so glad that God knows better than me.
Listen. Listen.
Listen to me.
Right.
Man, if God gave me what I prayed for, let's just take it in different domains.
Okay.
So if God gave me what I prayed for in the area of relationships, I would have been married to Barry, who's the guy that I mentioned in the book who ended up murdered, right? If he would have given me the desire of my heart, I could have very well have been on either side of that situation.
Yeah.
Either the wife or the woman who thought that he was single.
Absolutely.
Right? Could have been that, or, and to be clear, because I know somebody might say this in the comments, yes, she knew he was married. She knew he was married because she went to their house.
Yeah.
But let's just assume that a woman thought he was single.
Absolutely.
And ended up in that situation.
Absolutely.
Professionally, it was my plan to become a physician. I wanted to be an oncologist. My father passed away from cancer. I wanted to study cancer. I wanted to treat cancer patients. If God would have given me that desire of my heart, I would not be sitting on this couch right now. I would not have written the books that I wrote because I would have been so steeped in the science and the medicine that
you wouldn't have the capacity for it.
No, I wouldn't even be thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, like I've been in ministry since I was 17, but I wasn't planning to be a speaker or a preacher or author, none of that. I thought that I was going to just like be a doctor and then go to church. And that's going to be it. I didn't plan to preach. I didn't plan to teach Bible study, nothing. I was going to be a doctor and just be a member somewhere. So God has a way. He has a way of proving that he has the final say in everything.
Let's talk about the night that I think you were in high school when you left, you and your mom had an exchange, and you left, and you went to a friend's house.
Yeah, she kicked me out.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yes.
No, she
Your mom kicks you
yeah.
out. You go to a friend's house nearby,
Yeah.
and you stay there for a few
Yeah.
days. What was that like? And do you still have a relationship with that family today?
So I don't have a relationship with that family today, but I will tell you, it was such a tumultuous time. Like my growing up in that home was so tumultuous. I think
Yeah.
about it now. My boys take the stability of our house for granted.
Absolutely.
Like being able to walk in the house
Absolutely.
and not have to wonder our plate's going to be flying. Like being able to walk in the house and not have to wonder, is something going to be broken? Am
Yeah.
I going to be hit? Like just not having to wonder that. But it was very tumultuous. And so my mom, she kicked me out. I think the issue might have been she was having an argument with her boyfriend, and maybe she asked me something about it, and I guess she didn't like my answer. And so she was like, get out of my house. With nowhere to go. I had nowhere to go. I had no car. I had nothing. And so
And it was late too.
It was late.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just being able to go to a neighbor's house and stay there, they didn't even really ask questions. They just saw the state I was in, how distraught I was, and they took me in. That was ministry for me. Like what those people did for me was life-changing, because it proved to me that there are people who care.
Yeah.
You know, in that situation, it felt like nobody cares about me. But here's this family, they're like, no, I do care.
Yeah.
And so that really changed my life.
And you said that morning when your friend woke up there, she was like,
Yeah,
"Nona."
like, hey, Nona.
Yeah, yeah.
What's going on? And her
Right.
mom was just like, oh, she's going to be staying with us for a little while. It was important for me to be able to have a place to go.
Absolutely.
And God did it.
Yeah.
God did it. That's why I do believe like we're never without recourse, because God's hand is on our lives at all times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I think your mom comes to the school eventually in a few days.
Listen.
She's like, where have you
She
been?
literally came to the school
Yeah.
and was like, where have you been? I was like, you kicked me out. She's like, no, I didn't. I would never do that. I was like, what, you think I just left? Like, what are
Right.
we? But that's kind of how my mom was. My mom would do some of the most extreme things, and then when I would confront her about it, she would deny that it ever happened.
Yeah.
And so that was the environment I was raised in.
Did you ever come to the realization that she could have some mental health issues that have maybe gone unaddressed?
I realized that in my adult years, because growing up in it, I just thought it was weird. But I didn't have any other frame of reference.
Yeah.
You know? So, I realize now that my mom has a combination of bipolar disorder, but she also has something called communal narcissism. Communal narcissism, I think there's like 7 types of narcissism. Communal narcissism is when a person derives their sense of worth. It's going to sound funny, but they derive their sense of worth from being affirmed for doing good. So my mom was the kind of person, she is the kind of person that she would take somebody in off the street in a heartbeat. If somebody needs help, she will be there to help them. But she will do it because it gives her validation.
That she's a good person?
Right.
Okay.
But it's not internal validation. She has to get validation from other people
Got
for
it.
them to be like, oh my gosh, look how genuine you are. Look how kind you are. Look how giving you are. But when that stops, I literally have seen my mom throw people out on the street when they had nowhere else to go. So
Is it performative?
It's partly performative, but at the end of the day, it really is about self-worth and validation. Because
Yeah.
one of the things that people don't understand about narcissists, because sometimes narcissists can come across very strong, very grandiose, right? But they're actually deeply insecure.
Yeah.
Something happened in their childhood that fractured their sense of identity. And so now they have to essentially absorb self-worth from external sources.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is. It's performing for the validation. And if there's no validation, there's no performance.
Wow.
That's how it works. Yeah.
You talked about also in your book where you were working with 3 individuals at a nonprofit where I think Sean was your boss.
That's
right. Sean was your
That's
boss.
right. You better know who it is. Yeah.
And then it was some heifer. What's her name?
Well, there was
What's
a
her
couple
name?
of them.
The heifer in the
Yeah.
book. I hope
Yes.
she watching this. It was her. She was such a mean girl.
Yes.
And it was another individual.
Yeah,
I just
God.
remember Sean right now.
Yeah,
But anyway,
yeah, that's good.
because I feel like Sean didn't stand his ground when he was supposed to stand his ground. So I
Yeah.
did have a beef with Sean. Hopefully he's watching this. So anyway, yeah, I'm the friend.
No, your messages as you were reading the book to me were crazy hilarious. Yes.
Don't tell me your business about you done got into it with somebody, because I'm gonna be into it with them forever. I'm that friend. Like, I got an issue. Like, you should have never messed with my friend. I don't care that y'all made up and y'all cool. I'm gonna
not.
forever be side eye on you. Cause yeah, no. Don't play with my friend. Don't do that. So anyway, you had to work at this. It was almost as if, and I created some content from this last week. I forgot to tell you. It was almost as if you were beginning to be punished for doing well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm telling the book. This now.
No, go ahead, girl.
Okay, so it would tell y'all friends.
Go
So what
ahead.
had happened was Nona was working at this nonprofit. They really weren't giving her the team that she needed to be able to execute the things that she needed to execute.
Yeah.
So she took it upon herself to do some things and get some things implemented where she could, which led her to speaking at the White House, amongst a lot of other great things happening. People were asking you to speak, all these things. And the very people who wouldn't help her are the very people who started making it difficult for her to operate, although she had made all of this happen for the nonprofit. I feel some kind of way. Now you can tell the story better than I can.
No,
I got
you're
attitude.
telling it so well. I'm enjoying hearing it from you because this is funny.
It was amazing to see how the very people who have watched you struggle, who have watched you literally peel the pieces together. Like, you couldn't just put the pieces together. You had to go curate the pieces, bring the pieces to the room, chop them up, all the things, and then literally put them together. And then once you gain success from it, because it makes them look good, it's good. Now, because now it's not just a Nona thing, it's a us thing. Look what we've been able to do because of Nona's work. But now when somebody else notices my work, my worth, you feel some kind of way. Now I want it to be all about me and not about this organization. When I've done the work on behalf of the organization, but now because someone is noticing me, and you had the opportunity to appreciate me, you had the opportunity to help me, and now the others are reaching out, you have the audacity. If people don't have nothing else known, they have audacity. Like, you know what I mean? Now you have the audacity to question my integrity. I want this to be about all the girl. How did you do it?
It was one of the most it was one of the most painful experiences I had, because my heart, first of all, to say, hey, this is what I need, right? I need help. For them to be like, no. When they could have helped me. For them to literally be like, no, you need to figure this out on your own. And then when I do figure it out on my own, to tell our boss that, oh, Nona's just trying to build her own kingdom, or, oh, you know, Nona, this is just all about Nona. And like, it just felt so, it definitely rocked my ability to trust.
It was
for
betrayal.
Sure. It was absolutely betrayal. And I was hurt. And I was hurt because, especially for my boss, it's like, you know me. Like, you know me. You haven't had a conversation. So what happened was, I did all these things, had all these accolades, got all this money for the organization, all this stuff.
And he was proud initially.
Asked me to be his successor.
Yes.
Asked me to be, but that is what actually catalyzed the jealousy of my peers. That was actually the moment when things changed. Because before that, and you could speak to this, it's like, people are happy to struggle together. But the moment they see that you somehow have a leg up, it's like, instead of being like, hey, how can I support you? Or how can I help you? It's like, no, I got to pull you back down.
And Joseph and his brothers.
Listen.
What you mean you gonna rule up? What you mean?
Who you think you are? And the crazy thing is, Sean made that declaration without me. It wasn't my decision for him to say I was to be his successor. But that became the catalyst that made them side-eye me, look at me a little different, right? I was still the same person. I was still willing to do the work. I was still willing to be in the trenches. But fast forward, got all the accolades, got the money, did all the things that they didn't give me the resources to do, did it all. I get into my performance review, and Sean says to me, you know, Nona, I think you're a really great individual contributor, but I don't think you're a leader. And I was just like...
And that's when I went off on Sean. That's when I snapped.
I was like, how can you say that? And then he said, this is where it comes full circle.
Right.
Well, I just don't see how I see your success, but I just don't see how you've empowered your team to succeed. I said, what team?
Right.
I have asked over and over and over and over again for resources. I've asked for headcount. I've asked for staffing. At every juncture,
Yeah.
I've been told, no, we can't afford it. No, we can't do it. And he had to admit that that was true.
Right.
So it's like, yes, it is absolutely right that I have had to activate some skills that frankly I shouldn't have to activate at this level, but I've had to do it because I haven't had the infrastructure.
Yeah.
But that was also just eye-opening for me to realize that people could literally lie on me.
Yeah.
And somebody who I worked with for years could believe it, even though they see me with their own eyes, they could still believe it.
And it's so crazy to name me as your successor because you know that I'm capable. You know. But
Yep.
people are so fickle.
Yep.
You go and you get with these other people. They say whatever they want to say.
Yep.
And because I don't know, maybe you have more loyalty to them or like whatever it is. Maybe it's just a tenure of trying to prove that you're for them and not for, like, whatever it is. You go and be with them. And then all of a sudden, I'm not a good leader.
Yeah.
You say those words to me.
Yeah.
So I've been working on something called forgiveness. But people make it so hard. They make it so hard. But I'm believing that God is going to give me the grace to forgive and let grace flow through me.
It would be easy to forgive if it wasn't for people.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're not going nowhere. But the stupidity, it just be at an all-time high. The audacity is at an all-time high. The betrayal.
Well, because people need someone to blame, right?
Yeah.
So I think the height of maturity, I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. The height of maturity, whether it's as an individual or as a leader, the height of maturity is self-introspection. When you can get to the place where without arrogance or pride, you can actually honestly look at yourself and your deficiencies and your flaws, and you can acknowledge them and then take the next step of building a plan to address them. Like, that is the height, I believe.
Absolutely.
That's the height of maturity.
Yeah.
But a lot of people aren't there. I need to be able to blame somebody for my deficiencies. I have to be able to blame somebody for my flaws. And what that does is that means I don't grow.
Yes.
Because I'm blaming everybody else for something instead of actually working on it. And that's kind of the situation that I found myself in.
And I think I've gotten to a place personally in terms of maturing is being disappointed at the fact that other people aren't trying to. Like, you know, I don't want to blame Nona that I acted this way, or, you know, I need to, you know, I need to own some things. Like, I feel insecure, and that's why she intimidates me. I don't like how I feel validated and all the things until she comes in and people are congratulating her and all the things. I feel like she it's not her making me feel this way. It's my belief that I can't possess what she possesses.
That's right.
So now, you know,
right.
because I can process things like that, and I can say, let me whatever that is. I get deeply offended when believers, when other believers. It's different when people, you know. But when other believers act like that and their behavior is like that, it's really disturbing to me. It's very disturbing to me.
I think what I've had to come to realize is that people are people everywhere, and people are people no matter what they say out of their mouths. Like, there are some people who will swear up and down. Look, let me tell you something. I know a woman who has herself been a believer for at least 60 years. I had a woman come preach at our church, and after the woman preached, she did an amazing job. After she preached, this woman called me. She's a member of our church. She called me and she said, I just can't believe you had that Jezebel come speak to our church. She's been married 3 times, and you just have the audacity to let her stand up there like she's qualified to preach the word, right? And so I'm listening to her, and I'm like letting her just kind of go off. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, number one, the reason why she's married that many times is because the first husband that she married before she was even saved. She didn't even know anything about divorce. The second husband was physically abusive to her, almost killed her.
Wow.
The husband she was married to at the time, she had been married to for 30 years.
Wow.
Right? Had a whole life, whole family. But I'm listening to this woman go off, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, see, I know you. I know that the only reason why your husband married you is because you were pregnant.
I know you got a couple of baby daddies
So
and carrying
don't
on.
sit here
Yeah.
and call this woman a Jezebel when the reality is the only reason like you even feel like you are positioned to say what you're saying is because people don't know your truth.
Yes. And she was projecting.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it was. She was triggered by what she saw that was like her.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing to me how people so often do that. And it's the thing for me is a person who's been married 3 times and married for 30 years. This last time, why are we even talking about?
Why are we even? And the thing is too, it's like, listen, if that's how you feel, that's totally fine. But you need to at least speak from a place of knowledge.
Yes.
Stop judging when you don't even know the situation.
Absolutely.
You have no idea, but you're already casting judgment.
I remember, let me tell you a funny story. Because this is before I had this. I still don't have a lot of sense, but I had less sense. Okay, so I get to my hairstylist's house. This is when I had hair, more hair. And so I was getting a weave or something that day. I was newly engaged. So everybody, this is their first time seeing me in the shop since I had been engaged.
Right.
So there's a lady there. She's like, you ain't got no business getting married, girl. You don't need to be getting married. You ain't number, I think I was 22. You ain't number 22 years old, whatever. Girl, I read that lady to filth on her. I said, how many kids do you have? She said 3. I said, how many times have you been engaged? She said, none. I said, okay. Mike, I want to do a middle part today. Because I know she can't be taught. But it's amazing to me how we do that. We always...
Oh, boy.
Mean girl. That mean girl behavior,
exactly
that spirit.
Yeah.
The moment we see someone possessing something that we don't have, that we would like to have, instead of being inspired by it, instead of being encouraged by it,
we're threatened.
Immediately we're threatened by it. And we don't have to be that way.
And we shouldn't be that way because I think we become that way because we have a scarcity mindset, right? So it's like there's only so much opportunity. She got the opportunity, so that's it.
Yes.
It's like, no. Like, God spoke into nothing and created everything. So what in the world makes you think that one opportunity was the only opportunity? You don't have to hate on her. Celebrate her because the fact that she got that opportunity means that it is possible. But if you don't live with that mindset, you're right. Yeah, you'll be judging everybody and here's what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Threatened by somebody else's success. No, I refuse to be threatened by success. Teach me.
Absolutely.
How did you do that?
Absolutely.
That's what I want to know.
Yes, absolutely. And I really appreciate you as a woman, as a friend, being like that to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like as I've been navigating into this, it's so crazy. I hate to say industry. It's so crazy.
But I mean, it is.
It's an industry. Yeah. It's just weird to say that. But as I've navigated into this space, I've learned how easy it is to make enemies from just being your authentic self, from just showing up, from just being consistent.
Girl, you remember the conversation we had about a certain conference we were at?
Yeah.
And, me being so confused. Like, I don't understand why she would do that. Like, why would she lie to me and say that she couldn't do this, but that she did it for somebody else?
Yeah.
And you were just like, Nona. And I'm like, because in my mind, because I don't think that way. Like, if I have something that I can offer you, girl, it's yours.
Absolutely.
I'm not gatekeeping. I'm not, none of that. Like, if I have something I can offer you, it is yours. All you have to do is ask me. But there are some people who they literally feel their value by being the gatekeeper, by being the one to say what will or won't happen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be miserable.
Yeah, absolutely. And in releasing the gift of rejection, you have experienced even more rejection that you probably need to go do the gift of rejection part 2. So my question to you is, what has been the hardest rejection you've experienced since releasing this book? And how have you been able to not be bitter behind it?
Man, I'm trying to narrow them down, but I'll give you a couple that are in the same vein.
Okay.
I think the most painful rejection that I've experienced is people that I helped when I said, hey, I need help, them either not responding, saying no, and just not being helpful. And I think what makes it hard is when the person, it's not that they're just a not helpful person. They're just not being helpful to me. because I know they're helping other people, you know, and I've already helped them.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like, honestly, if a stranger doesn't help me, I'm fine. Like, that's cool. And I make this point, I don't know if I said it in the book, but I do say this in my message. In order to even experience rejection, you have to first have the hope that you were accepted.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't feel rejected because you didn't get a job you didn't apply for. You don't feel rejected because a man you don't like doesn't like you. And you don't feel rejected because a stranger doesn't help you.
Yeah.
You feel rejected because you applied for the job, you hoped you would get it, and they chose somebody else.
Yeah.
Because you liked the man, you hoped he would like you back, so you told him, and he was like, no thanks. Because you asked your friend for help. And like, you just knew that they would show up for you, and they didn't. And so when you experience rejection, it doesn't just end your pride, it actually breaks your heart. And so what was heartbreaking for me in releasing this was that people who I just knew I could count on just disappeared. The things that they could do. I remember asking someone, there was a particular media outlet that I was trying to connect with. And for whatever reason, my publisher was having a hard time connecting with them. And this person had been on the outlet. And so my question was, hey, can you recommend someone on the team that I could just reach out to about this? I didn't even say the host. I just said someone on the team. And they said no.
Literally just no.
No.
Okay. Wow.
No. Even though I knew they could. And so where the difficulty comes in for me is, yes, the rejection hurts.
Yeah.
I have to be very intentional about guarding my heart. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to become bitter.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person. And
Absolutely.
how you become that person is you allow rejection to make you bitter.
Yeah.
So now when I have access to something, in order for me to feel better, I have to block your access to it. That's how that happens.
Yep.
Rejectors were rejected.
Right.
And instead of dealing with it, they figured, okay, well, when I get something, I'm going to keep it for myself. And I don't want to be that way.
Yeah. That really speaks to relationally how people are usually good with you until you get too good.
Listen.
You know what I mean? I was fine with you as long as you were helping me.
Yeah, just right there.
You were here and I was here and you were here. It felt a little bit, I was more comfortable with you. But now you're making me a little bit more uncomfortable. So I don't know if you've experienced a friendship breakup since releasing the gift of rejection, or you've watched your relationships in some way dismantle. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How have you, if you have dealt with that, how have you navigated what would I say? The accepting that they may have not ever been a friend, that they may not have ever been what you thought they were when you were helping them.
I think, again, it gets back to that second gift, just realizing that rejection reveals people's role in your destiny. Like, I think I always assume that someone who is a friend of mine, like, their role in my destiny is permanent. I assume that it's a lifetime situation, when the reality is it could be for a reason, or it could be for a season. It doesn't have to be for a lifetime. We want it to be for a lifetime, but it doesn't have to be. And so I am now in a position to where I just accept what is. I think where the pain comes in is when we get caught up in the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. We get caught up in the fantasy of relationships. It's like, no, accept what is. This person didn't show up for you when they could. That was a choice that they made.
Yeah.
Accept it as the truth. Don't excuse it. Well, they're busy. Well, no. They didn't show up for you when they could. That was the choice they made.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I'm a very busy person. Rarely do I ever say, no, I can't do something. Because when it comes to my friends, I will find a way.
Right.
if I say no, it's because I literally can't. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have the way. There's something blocking it that I literally can't do it. But it's not because I just choose not to, because it's
Yeah.
inconvenient. When somebody shows that to you, as Maya Angelou would say, just believe it.
Believe in.
No hard feelings, no grudges. That's the part that I think is hard. I don't hold a grudge just because somebody doesn't show up for me.
Yeah.
I don't hold a grudge because somebody abandoned me or rejected me. I just see it for what it is.
Hold the acceptance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just accept it. I'm like, okay. And I feel free because now I know how to classify you. And I don't have to keep you in a seat that you're not really in.
Absolutely. That leads me to my next question. What's the hardest part about choosing forgiveness when the wound is still fresh?
I will say it has become easier for me to forgive, even in the moment. Because now, again, I know how to classify people. So if somebody betrays me, instead of getting caught up in the why, in the, oh my God, all the questions,
Yeah.
I just accept the what.
Gotcha.
So the wound is fresh, absolutely. And I'm not allowing the why to infect it.
Absolutely.
It happened. It is what it is. I see where you are, and I'm putting you over here now. That doesn't mean that you'll always be there, because you have the opportunity to grow back to the place that you were, but it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of time.
Let's speak to not having the opportunity. Have you had moments where you just like, you know what? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like,
Yeah.
when I have someone who verifiably in multiple ways, especially if you're duplicitous, if you're the kind of person who smiles in my face and you're, oh my gosh, I got your back, but when it comes down to it, you're not there. And behind my back, you're actually working against me.
Yeah.
No, honey, you're going to be right over there.
Yeah. And stay over there.
You're going to stay over there. So my mentor gave a great analogy. She talks about how the temple in the Bible. So the temple, there was like the outer court, right? Like the outer court. Anybody could be in the outer court. Then there was the inner court. And people came into the inner court because they were offering a sacrifice. There was something that was giving. Then you had inside of the temple, you had the holy place. That was the place where only the priests could go.
Yeah.
And then you had the Holy of Holies, and that's where the chief priest could go once per year. You have to know which concentric circle people are in, right? So it's like some people, they're completely on the outer court. Like they just are there by virtue of their physical existence.
Yeah.
Other people are in the inner court, where there's something about them that you trust, and you want to learn more about them so you can trust them more. To get to the holy place, that requires a track record of consistent loyalty, consistent honesty, consistent showing up.
Yeah.
And the Holy of Holies, that means that there's pretty much nothing that you've ever done that has made me question you.
Absolutely.
It's hard to get there, but you have to put people in the right circle.
Yeah. That's good stuff. That's really, really good stuff. You've been very vocal about your mother wounds, of course. And I know that you guys, you're not in a relationship with her currently, right?
Right.
I love that you said you still take care of her.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. And it speaks to who we should be as God's people. You know what I mean? But with that being said, I know that you have mentioned to me that you longed for mentorship and you've kind of leaned into older women and not really gotten what you thought you wanted out of it. I think you even speak about it in the end of this book. You talk about how for so long you were reaching and reaching and reaching, but no one was reaching back. You know what I mean? So what is your advice to the person who may be watching who suffers with their mother wound, who struggles with that, and oftentimes looks to other individuals to be a spiritual mom or a mentor, and they're not really finding that being reciprocal for them? Yeah.
Well, I think we have to give ourselves grace, because sometimes, especially among us as Black women, we can be so hard on ourselves. Like, you should be stronger than that. You shouldn't need nobody. You got yourself. You're independent. We are wired in our being to look to someone else to nurture us and care for us. Like, mothers are wired into our being. So you're not weird because there's a wound there, and you're hoping to fill it with a mentor or somebody else. So I just wanted to start there, because I don't want anybody to think I shouldn't need anybody. No, you were made to need somebody.
Absolutely.
I would say if there's a persistent need where it's just like, I feel like I don't matter unless an older woman validates me or includes me or invites me. I think that's an identity issue. And that's what I struggled with.
Yeah.
I wanted the mother because I didn't have a secure identity. And I'm going to tell you what God did for me. And I
Yeah.
talk about it in the book, is in that situation where I had this woman who I really wanted her to be my spiritual mom. I really wanted her to like step in and teach me what I needed to know about womanhood and being a preacher and all this stuff.
Yeah.
When it didn't happen, I went to God and I was so just disillusioned. Like, God, you know this is what I want. You know this is
Yeah.
what I want. This is what I need. And God lovingly slapped me across my face and was basically like, so help me understand. These speaking engagements that you have, do they ask for some sort of letter of recommendation from somebody?
Read her, God.
I was like, well, no. And he was like, okay. He said, these doors that open for you, who is the woman who's opening them for you?
Wow.
And I was like, nobody that I know of. He was like, so here's my question. You're looking for a mother figure on earth. Why am I not enough as your Father in heaven?
Wow.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
I repent.
Right.
I
Quickly.
take that back. And I
Yeah.
had to realize that I was basically looking for a human to be what God had already been doing. Like he
Yeah.
had already opened the doors. He already gave me wisdom and knowledge that I cannot ascribe to going to seminary. I
Yeah.
because I've never been. Like
Yeah.
there's things I cannot explain, things I
Yeah.
can do that I can't explain. And it's because he's allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage any woman who I think is wrestling with that, wanting to be wanted by a mother figure, you are already loved by your heavenly Father, who has promised that when your mother and your father forsake you, that he will take you up.
Yeah.
He has already made that promise. And so I've had to acknowledge that he goes before me.
Absolutely.
I love people, but who I need
Yeah.
is God.
Absolutely. He is the source.
He absolutely
Yeah,
is.
because sometimes we see people because they have things, we see them as resources.
Yes.
And they can be resources. But the moment that we experience rejection from that resource,
Girl.
we put our eyes on them and not on God, who is actually allowing this. Because some people, if they actually gave you a yes, they would take credit for your speaking engagements.
So listen, that is literally what God revealed to me. It's
Yeah.
like, so the reason why a lot of times doors will close is because those people cannot handle being the one to open the door because they will then take credit.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, God doesn't share credit with
Absolutely.
anybody. He does not share
Absolutely
credit.
not,
And so
yeah.
he'll be like, oh, okay, that's not the one. And you talked about the source and resource. I literally this past weekend just preached at a church out of 1 Chronicles 21 where there was military opposition that came against Israel. And this is when David was king. And immediately he told his military commanders to take a census to count the fighting men.
Yeah.
And the military commanders were like, no, we don't want to do this. This will bring guilt on Israel. And then it goes on to say that that command was evil in God's sight. And I couldn't understand. I was like, why would it be evil? Like there was a war and he just wanted to see how many soldiers he had. But even David recognized that it was evil because what he did is when he was facing opposition, forget the fact that God enabled him to defeat Goliath. Forget the fact that God is the one who made him king.
Yeah.
Forget the fact that God is the one who gave him those military resources. He immediately counted on his resources
Right.
because he figured it was the army. He figured it was the soldiers that would win the battle. He didn't count on the source.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes we do confuse that. It's like,
Yeah.
if I can just have this resource, then I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And God is like, why do you need a resource when a resource is just what I use
Yeah.
to give you what you need?
Yes.
That's all.
And that's a lot of us today. We have so much access to everything
Yes.
that it literally keeps us from acknowledging the God who has given us access,
Yes.
who has provided the
Yes.
resources. And yeah, absolutely. So I was just telling a brief story last night on my Patreon in our new book. And I was talking about forgiveness and how I've struggled with that. You mentioned David, it brought it to mind. And I was thinking about how I think I was holding resentment. I think I had a grudge. I don't think I realized it until the Lord convicted me that it was resentment. I was saying what I would not do. Honestly and truly, when I get to that point with you, I'm good. I don't hate you. I don't want nothing bad to happen to you. I'm just good. Like
Right.
May
Yep.
God be with you.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be with you, but I know He'll be, okay?
Yes,
So I'm going to leave you
yes,
over there with
yes.
Him. And so I felt like I was holding this resentment. I sent you a memos back in the summer. You may not even remember because I sent you so many. But when God revealed to me that sometimes we can have our eyes on people and their rejection of us, not realizing that He's behind the scenes of it all. Because, like I said earlier, had they actually done it for you or whatever, you wouldn't be in position.
No.
Or they would take credit for it.
Absolutely.
And as you mentioned, He's not sharing His
No.
glory with anybody. And so that being said, it was literally, I'm gonna be very transparent with you. I had two people in my life. I'm just like, you know what? It's good. I'm just good. Like I'm good. And God was like, how are you gonna be good when I have, through you, established this platform within 2 years and you got all of this going on? You have like very small and minimum team. I have literally sent you everything you need. And for these words that you've shared that have attracted all of these people to you, you wouldn't have even had the language had you not had these experiences. So you walking around resentful, you walking around holding a grudge toward the people that ultimately I used to propel you.
Yes. Yes.
And it was so crazy to me because I was like, I felt just like you. I was like, okay, that's what we're doing. All right. So, Lord, I just want to say I repent. I'm sorry.
Father, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so God uses the rejection.
He does.
You know, He causes all things to work together for our good. And I'm a living witness of that. Like He's literally causing the people, even if you want to refer to them as enemies, God will use those people to humble themselves before you.
Absolutely.
They don't even want to open the door. They be opening it like this. They still opening it.
Yes,
they still
listen.
talking about you. They still, whatever it is. So I'm grateful.
I want to say this real quick story.
Yeah, go ahead.
So remember how I mentioned that one of the things that hurt me during my book release was friends who had access to media platforms, but they were like, no, I can't help you, even though they could.
Yeah.
So there was one particular platform that I just really wanted to get on. And a friend of mine who was on it was like, nope. I was speaking at a conference. This was maybe a week or two after this person.
A friend of mine, a person I knew.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes. This person that I knew in my past. I was speaking at this conference and I was in the green room. And there were like a whole bunch of celebrities there because it was like a business conference and there were a whole bunch of celebrities there. And I'm in the green room and I'm getting ready because I have to do the keynote, right? Well, all the celebrities left and I was just in there kind of reviewing my notes by myself.
Yeah.
In walks this woman, nondescript. She had on like tennis shoes, jeans, and like a baseball cap, super nondescript. And she walks in and she asks for one of the celebrities. She's like, hey, is so-and-so here? And I said, I think they just went out to do something. And she was like, oh man, I was supposed to meet her because we were supposed to have a conversation or whatever. She's like, I got caught on a call. So I just was like, oh, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, she's not here. She was like, well, what's your name? And so I told her my name. And she said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm about to do the keynote. She said, oh, really? About what? And so I said, it's on my new book called The Gift of Rejection. She was like, the gift of rejection? How is rejection a gift? So I shared the premise of the book with her. And she was like, that sounds really, really fascinating. She was like, let me give you my card. Turns out this woman was the executive producer of the platform.
Wow.
That my person I used to know was like, no, I can't help you.
Yeah.
And so God...
Yeah, divinely orchestrated, you staying back.
Listen, we walk around here angry because of a door that somebody didn't open. And the thing I keep telling people is if they slam the door in your face, God can open a window.
Yes.
He can knock down a wall. He can tear the roof off. He owns the whole house. So stop being so angry because of somebody's rejection.
Yeah.
Like even rejection has to come under subjection to the power of God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even rejection has to come under subjection to the power of God.
Yeah.
That is so good. That's a good note for us to leave on, Nona. Is there anything you would like to leave with our friends before we wrap?
Okay, I will look at my camera here and I would just say that rejection is the most common form of human trauma. And not all of us have experienced sexual abuse. We have not all experienced physical abuse, but we have all been rejected. The thing I want you to leave this conversation with is understanding that pain is just its wrapping paper because there is a gift on the inside. And that gift is the lesson it can teach you about yourself, about other people, and about God. Don't stop at the pain. The pain is real. But don't stop at it because there's something you can learn from it that will allow you to harness your pain and propel your purpose. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Friends, I really hope that you have enjoyed this episode with the Nona Jones. I hope that whether you're in a season of constant rejection or you're ruminating on the rejection that you've experienced, I hope that this episode helps you to see that there's a God who wants you to submit that rejection to him, because his power can heal, his power can restore, and quite frankly, his power can tear the roof off if they close the door. So I love you guys. Did I just bars? Period. I love you guys. Whatever you do this week, please, friend, I will see you back on the next episode of Friend Fusion.
Ooh.